God bless you and welcome back to Heart Ministry Network and the Extraordinary People broadcast. I am your host, Brenda Divers, and today we have three now, right? We all know Leslie Jean Marie by now. She is certainly a family member and has been giving us so much wonderful information regarding the donor program with Gift of Life. And today we are joined by Dr. Tracy Woodson. And if you would allow me, Dr. Tracy, just to read your bio, Dr. Tracy T. Woodson is the principal of Springer Middle School, Brandywine School District, since June 2015. Prior to Dr. Woodson was the assistant principal at Springer Middle School and Mount Pleasant High School, then business education teacher at AI DuPont High School, CFO at FMC Corporation and contracts manager for Lockheed Martin and General Electric companies. Dr. Woodson began his career as a project engineer from ITI Defense Systems in Nutley, New Jersey. As an ambassador with Gift of Life Donor Program, Dr. Woodson participates in various programs to increase awareness about organ tissue donation. And this is really interesting. Dr. Woodson is also a two-time kidney recipient and has a remarkable story about his journey. Now, we are all about this story. We love the story because everyone's story can bless someone else, right? There is something in your story, Dr. Woodson, that's going to bless someone. And just thank you
I hope
both
so.
for consenting to be a part of this. Again, Leslie has been with us for two segments, and I'm just so grateful to her for all the work and for the work she does, and she does it with passion. So today, we wanted to add Dr. Woodson to the program because him being a two-time donor or recipient of an organ. Huh. So Tracy, so Leslie, before we bring or talk to Dr. Woodson, is there anything you'd like to say about him before we move forward?
I absolutely would love to say things about Dr. Tracy Woodson. First things being, everything that we talked about the past two segments, Pastor Brenda,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it comes to real fruition when you
Yeah.
meet someone like Dr. Tracy T. Woodson. The story
Yeah.
that he has that I will not share because it is an awesome and remarkable story.
Yeah.
Folks need to understand how organ and tissue donation really does touch you. And his
Yeah.
story touches me, and he continues to bless us all by sharing his story, really, really, really honing in what it means to be an organ and tissue donor. So I'm very thrilled.
Great. Thank you so much. And like you said, it always helps when you have a physical, person who has been through the process to let you know, yes, you can do this. If that's what, God's will for your life is, if someone is willing to donate and then, you're matching, what a wonderful gift to give someone. So Dr. Woodson, just take your time and
Oh,
explain to us your process and how all this came to be. Can you just tell us your story?
absolutely. And let me first say that I am blessed for so many reasons. First off, I am one of nine children. My mother and father were
Wow.
killed by a drunk driver back in 1971. And it is a blessing that I am here. My youngest sister, well, my oldest sister at the time, Judy, took care of all nine of us. So that is my blessing. Um, I love my mother and father. I miss them every day, but for some reason, I am here, and I'm going to tell my story. Let me just say that if not for the gift of life, if not for the doctors, if not for the prayers that I receive every day, I would not be here. Yes, I grew up without a mother and father, but I'm here today. I love what I do. I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I am principal of Springer Middle School, and I am blessed to be there. I've been doing this job for almost 6, 7 years as principal, and before that as an educator and a principal or assistant principal over at Mount Pleasant High School. My story it's one of a blessing. Like I said, I'm one of nine. Uh, in 2002 is when I first found out that I had kidney failure. So I lived 40 years without knowing that
Wow.
I had this issue with my kidney, and it's called FSGS, and it's a long name, focal uh, glomerulus. It's like a long name, and I'm not going to get into it, but it's FSGS,
Mhm.
and there is no known cure for it. There is no known reason for the disease to be, but I have FSGS. So back in 2002, I went to the hospital not knowing what was wrong with me. My leg became numb and I couldn't move it. So I got to the hospital, and as soon as I walked into the emergency room, down I went. And luckily, my sister Elizabeth worked at the hospital, so they called her and she mentioned, please check his creatinine level. Well, the normal person's creatinine level is like zero point 0.7 to 1.3. And when they found out my creatinine level, it was 25. So 25 times the normal limit. I should have been dead. But for some reason, and I'm going to blame it on God, I'm here. Uh, a year later, my sister Linda provided me with a kidney. And she was the third oldest. And she said, I didn't know if I was going to be um, able to, but she was, and she donated a kidney to me. Um, there's nothing worse than being on dialysis when you don't know why. You're sitting on dialysis, you're sitting there with a needle in your arm, and they're taking blood out, cleaning it, and putting back in. So I had to do that for about a year before my sister donated a kidney to me. That kidney
Wow.
lasted, I'm going to say, almost 10, 11 years before, unfortunately, it failed. And so I was back on dialysis again. And for 4 years, I was on dialysis. Um, and pardon me if I get emotional, but it was a
Take your
long
time.
4 years. It was a long 4 years. You go to dialysis 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I was still working at the time. So I would go to dialysis at 4 o'clock and get off about 8 o'clock. Um, and towards the end of those 4 years, things got worse. Um, Dialysis is a wonderful procedure, but when you're on dialysis, at the end of those 4 hours every 3 days, it feels like you run a marathon. Um, and it was tough. I'm not going to kid you, it was tough. Um, the last year, there were several times when I had to have somebody come pick me up because um, my heart pressure, my blood pressure, uh, almost saw me dead. I'll just be very honest. They had to call the paramedics and revive me several times because my blood pressure was so low. And when they say as you're going down, and they're beating on my chest and saying, wake up, come on, Tracy, wake up." Um, you can feel it, but there's nothing you can do about it. So dialysis is very tough on me. Um, and there were times when I did not think I was going to make it. Um, my second kidney transplant was on September 7th, 2016. Happened to be my oldest son, Vernon's birthday. And so I was blessed in that regard. Um, I need to tell you a story about a nephew of mine. His name is Pastor Brandon Woodson. And August 29th, 2016, that was a Friday. I believe my nephew called me, and I couldn't answer the phone. I was in a meeting next door in the conference room, and Brandon doesn't call. He doesn't call me very often, and he called me and said, "Uncle Tracy, I need to leave you a message." He says he was in prayer, preparing his sermon for Sunday, and he said I was in prayer, and God told me to tell you to hold on for a little while longer. You're going to get your kidney, but I need you to hold on. So he left that message on my phone, and when I finally ended the meeting, that's when I got the message. And he said, "Unc, I just need you to hold on a little longer because God told me you're going to get your kidney." So I tried to call him, and you got to understand. Um, I tried for like a half hour to call him back and say, "Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate the phone call." But I was overcome. Um, so my wife and I went to New York. We were going up to New York for the weekend. We left that afternoon and we took the train up to New York. And the whole ride, my wife said, "What's the matter?" So I told her, and she said, "Okay, well, you got to hold on." So we went up to New York and stayed the weekend, had a wonderful weekend. Now I'm doing dialysis. I did my dialysis early that morning. And I never had more energy uh, like I had that weekend. Um, I walked around New York City, and normally when I done with dialysis, I have no energy at all. Um, so long story short, I got home Sunday, and that was Labor Day weekend, and I didn't have school, and I believe it was that Monday morning, I got a call, and it was from the Gift of Life, and they said, "Tracy, is this Tracy Woodson?" I said, "Yes, it is." They said it was the Gift of Life, and I forget the young lady's name, but she said, "We have a kidney for you, and you're number one on the list." Now I had received phone calls throughout the years, and they said, "Well, you're number 8, you're number 12, you're number 4." And when you realize there's only two kidneys, when you're number 4 or 8, you realize the chances are very slim. But she said, "You're number one on the list. Do you want it?" Um, I said yes, but it took me a minute. I said yes. So this is 5 o'clock in the morning, and my wife said, Is everybody okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just going to go downstairs." So I went downstairs, and they called back at about 5:30 and said, "Tracy, you can go to work. We'll be calling you, and we'll tell you when you need to come into Christiana Hospital." So I said, "Okay." So I went to work and had a meeting next door with my staff, and great friend of mine, Lindsay Spada. She knows me too well, and so I had my phone right next to me. Um, and the phone rang about 11:30 or so, and kids were at lunch, and she said, "Tracy, it's time to come in." And I said, "Okay." And that was the only words I spoke, and she looked at me. She was down the far end of the table, and she looked at me, and she had like, what's going on, because I normally don't answer the phone in my meetings. And I said, "Well, I'll talk to you later." So she went to cafeteria. She had lunch duty, and I got back to my office, called my wife, and she's screaming and hollering. I said, "I'll be home in a minute." So I told my staff and called my boss, superintendent, and he said, "What are you waiting for? Get out of the building and go to the hospital, get your kidney." So I think I thank God every day. Um,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you can't dispute this conversation. You can't dispute his blessing. My nephew,
Yeah.
he was in conference, as I say, with God, and God told
Yeah.
him to tell me. Um, and that was something that I will never. You can't tell me there is no God. You cannot tell me there is no God.
Mm,
That
yeah.
would not happen without God. I have a wonderful family. I have wonderful doctors. Dr. Saad, Dr. Swanson, who did my kidney transplant, uh, Dr. Scantlebury, first Black woman to do transplants, and just somehow I have been blessed since my mother and father were killed to be in this position at this moment in time. Um, you can't tell me there is no God, and I am blessed. I
Mm,
am grateful. I hope through my work with children, I am giving it back. Um, I hope that with my work with organizations that I'm on the board with, like Henrietta Johnson Medical Center, Wilmington University, that I'm giving back to children. I'm giving back in some way, shape, or form for all the blessings that I've received in the last 50 years. Um, I hope God understands and He blesses me um, for what I've tried to do in my life. Um, I live every day grateful. And,
mm, amen.
I have my sister Nancy has had a kidney transplant, actually two. Hers is related to I believe lupus. Um, I've have two nephews that live in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Each of them has had one kidney transplant, and family has donated to them. Um, my namesake Tracy, Eric Woodson in South Carolina, got a kidney from his beautiful wife, and so I'm very happy for that. So you got me up here crying in my office. I'm supposed to be dealing with 840 children. Uh, and oh, what's wrong with him? He ain't he ain't the principal. He ain't supposed to be crying. But I love what I do. I am blessed for what I do, and I thank you today for allowing me to tell my story. It is so important that we register to be donors, and you can help in so many ways. And I hope and pray that when it's time for me to go home, that they can use my organs. Uh, I've learned so much from the gift of life. I've learned so much from other patients that I counsel, um, you know, on Facebook, and family and friends that are here as my teachers. You don't know how much transplants impact people until you understand. I've had two teachers here that wanted to donate, and unfortunately, they found out that they have kidney issues. So they've been able to take care of their kidney ailments, but they wouldn't have known if they didn't try to donate for me. So, and I consider that another blessing. One young man had his whole urethra flooded with kidney stones, and he knew nothing about it. And so, I'm hopefully um, getting the message out that is important to donate. It is important to understand what kidney donation means, what organ donation means, and so that's my story. I hope people take it to heart, understand what I'm saying, and sometimes people can't donate and they feel bad about it, but it's nothing to feel bad about, you know. I hope people uh, learn more about organ donation, just to dispel the myths that are out there, and seek the truth and do what's best for them. So I thank you today for allowing me to tell my story, and have a blessed day, everyone.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much,
Amen.
Dr. Woodson. Um, Again, sometimes you don't understand that until you see someone in front of you that has experienced the process. And not just one, but two times, you know. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sure that is sometimes that's the thing that kind of pushes you forward, you know, to know that there is someone who is living through the process, you know. And again, grateful to God because we know it was only because of Him
Oh, only
that
because of
you
him.
got. Yes, yes. So to God be the glory. So again, this has been a wonderful time. You know, I'm so grateful for you, Leslie, and just kind of reaching out and getting the message out there. You know, what is Gift of Life and what it does and how it impacts, you know, the lives of people. So that's our time for the third time. But before we go, Leslie, if you would tell us how to contact you, tell us quickly how to contact you regarding the, you know, the grant and all of that, and just if you have a closing word.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Pastor, for having me, for having
Absolutely.
us have the
Yes.
opportunity to be on your platform. And, Dr. Tracy Woodson, your story, your family story, it always is impactful. I am not a first time listener for Dr. Woodson and the Woodson family story, and it is impactful every time. So I appreciate you for bringing this story, for bringing what I go out in the public and say, for people to hear firsthand from someone who has gone through a lot and who has persevered and who is principal,
Yeah,
an educator, who is able to just continue on and pay it forward. So I'm very appreciative of that. For more information about how to become an organ donor, you can simply visit our website, Donors One. So donors the number one.org. And also, too, if I might just add this, Pastor, we have a national observance coming up in November, and it's called National
hmm
Donor Sabbath. And National Donor Sabbath this year is celebrated November 12th through the 14th. And we work closely with clergy and houses of worship because, listen, houses of worship, clergy, we trust. We are there,
hmm
especially as a people. This is what we know. This is what we know the best. We have a faith, and Gift of Life recognizes that, and we want to be able to partner with houses of worship to observe National Donor Sabbath. So thank you so much.
absolutely. Again, that's our time here on Heart Ministry Network. This has been a special edition of the Extraordinary People broadcast. And as you can tell, Leslie and Dr. Woodson are extraordinary people. And we are just so grateful for the impact that you have on the lives of our communities and how you take the time for us to truly understand what this is about, because understanding is the thing that moves you forward, right? So I think just
Absolutely.
for me, I have such a better understanding of this whole process and I can better articulate when I am asked those questions, right? So thank you so very much for spending time with us here on Heart Ministry Network. Thank you. We're just adding you to our family. These are just
Please do.
two more
Thank you.
family members of
Yes.
Heart Ministry Network. And again, just thank you so much for what you do. You know what you do for the lives of our people and our communities. And
Amen.
that's our time for the third time. But we ask you to look at these segments and look at them again and again until it gets inside of you. And if there's questions, you can contact Leslie. You know, Dr. Woodson, he appears always to be ready to share his story. And
As much as
you
I
know, and
can.
I just love it. Yes, amen, amen. So
Amen.
again, thank you for joining us here on Heart Ministry Network, the Extraordinary People broadcast. I'm your host, Brenda Divers, with Leslie Jean Marie and Dr. Woodson. And again, thank you so much for taking the time and not counting it robbery to spend this time with us. We really truly appreciate you and what you're doing. God bless you. We'll talk again real soon.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information about being an organ or tissue donor, go to donorsone.org.